And if you'll join me in our prayer for illumination, it can be found in the bulletin or on the screen behind me. Creator God, we don't just want to listen, we want to hear you. So turn our hearts toward you, just as you turned strangers into disciples. Turn our ears toward you, just as you turned tables in the temple. We are listening. Amen. And now our scriptures today come from the book of Acts, chapters 10, 9 through 20, and 25 through 29. The next day, as they were traveling and nearing the city, Peter went up to pray on the housetop about noon. Then he became hungry and wanted to eat. But while they were preparing something, he went into a visionary state. He saw heaven opened and an object that resembled a large sheet coming down, being lowered by its four corners to the earth. In it were all the four-footed animals and reptiles of the earth, then the birds of the sky. Then a voice said to him, "Get up, Peter, kill and eat." "No, Lord," Peter said, "for I have never eaten anything common and ritually unclean." Again, a second time, a voice said to him, "What God has made clean, you must not call common." This happened 3 times, and then the object was taken up into heaven. While Peter was deeply perplexed about what the vision he had seen might mean, the men who had been sent by Cornelius, having asked directions to Simon's house, stood at the gate. They called out, asking if Simon, who was also named Peter, was lodging there. While Peter was thinking about the vision, the Spirit told him, "3 men are here looking for you. Get up and go downstairs and accompany them with no doubts at all, because I have sent them." Now Acts 10, 25 through 29. When Peter entered, Cornelius met him, fell at his feet, and worshiped him. But Peter helped him up and said, "Stand up. I myself am also a man." While talking with him, he went on in and found that many had come together there. Peter said to them, "You know it's forbidden for a Jewish man to associate with or visit a foreigner. But God has shown me that I must not call any person common or unclean. That's why I came without any objection when I was sent for. So I ask, why did you send for me?" This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Amen.
I'm Jay. I was here last week, and I preached about, in this series, Start Something. So I want to continue to that today, and I want to tell you, as we start, thank you for your warm welcome. You're good at that. You actually are good at that. I've been a number of places, and I appreciate that. I want you to know that that is a strength of yours. There are some places where the warm welcome is like on you, and you can't like have a second to yourself. And there's some places where they just leave you too, and those have their places. But you seem to hit the sweet spot. I'm telling you. I think I recognize that about you, and I like that. And I'm also want you to know that I have a lot of love for you, more than you may know. I appreciate people who've been on the journey that Nightdale has been on, that are here, that are committed to loving God and loving their neighbors. I have so much respect for that. So everything I say today comes from a place of actually genuine love for you. I don't know you all. I know some of you, but I so appreciate who you are and what you're doing, and I want you to know that. I could go on a long time about that, so I want to tell you that. So when there are different types of sermons, I've preached a variety of different types, and I thought sometimes I want to tell people up front, this one's going to be a challenging one. This one's going to be a academic one. This is going to be an inspirational one. This is going to be a scholarly one that's biblical scholarship. So this series starts something. As Steph and I know each other reasonably well, we've known each other for about 3 years, and we've done a lot of video work together. We've spent a lot of time filming and talking behind the scenes. And one of the things that we thought would be important was to do a series that was a set of sermons. We didn't dive deeply into here's what the Greek means in these words and these passages, but rather how you do this, how we think this is done. So this is kind of a how-to And I'm not claiming it's great. You heard that, me say that up front. I'm not claiming these are great. But let me tell you about this particular message. This has been in the works. This one's been in the works decades. And so it's definitely imperfect. Can you live with that? We don't have time to connect every dot, okay? I promise the dots were there if we had time to connect them all, okay? But if you'll trust the dots are connected, even if I don't do a good job connecting them, then maybe something useful could come out of it, because the idea is for it to be practical. That's kind of my starting point in this. So what happens when you start something? We're going to have up here this question. What happens when you start something? Oh my. I have done a fair bit of basketball coaching in my day. I've coached teams, and I've coached individual players in a variety of settings, a variety of ages. I remember standing in a gym one time working with two super advanced basketball players with known names. Now, I was just the doofus in the room working with a guy who really knew what he was doing with these players. But I knew one of them was very experienced. I watched this player do the workout. I watched this player. I'm there rebounding, passing to him, trying not to have them land on me. They're enormous people. They're crazy, these basketball people. I'd be like this big on the TV in real life, but these people were giant. And I watched the two of them, their understanding of what I'm about to say was vastly different. The one who didn't understand what I'm about to say is very famous. And he was so angry at trying to learn a new skill, he's punting basketballs into walls. And like he's mad. And the other one, totally chill the whole time when they're both starting something new. So I think this information could prevent us from being player number one and help us being player number two. Are you with me for this? So I wish I had footage of that. You would be surprised. So I think it's very valuable. There's 4 phases you go through when you start something new. And we, in this sermon series, each of the weeks has actually kind of tried to mirror that. 4 phases you go through. And let me describe them emotionally. When you're going to try something new, phase 1 is yay. You know what phase 2 is? Ugh. No kidding. Phase 1 is yay. Phase 2 is ugh. And possibly worse. Phase 3 is okay. Huh? Phase 4 is all right. Got it? Yay. Okay. All right. That's actually what the 4 phases are, and they work like this. Phase 1, you're going to try a new thing right here, and then phase 2 comes. And then phase 2, you're in a pit. And then phase 3 is getting out of that pit up here, and then phase 4 is all right. Okay, so that's how they work. I mean, you're free to think what you want. I have a fair bit of data, and those 2 basketball players proved that point. They were here. So we fail when we get to phase 2 happens and we fail. Some of us, like me with a skateboard, I would not start at yay. I would start at if I did that, right? Some of us don't even get a phase 1, right? We're already in phase 2. The difference is our knowledge of this makes this pit deeper or shallower, or makes us get more out of the pit that we take forward with us. You follow? That's what's happening with Peter. Peter, the Apostle Peter and the Apostle Paul, they failed, so we could list where Peter failed. This is a fail point. Acts 10 is where Peter failed. And you're seeing God encounter him at his failure point. He's missing it. He's misunderstanding it. He's not even up to what God is trying to do. How about that? He's pretty advanced. This is post-resurrection Jesus. This is the Peter who stood in the temple area, on the whole grounds of the temple, large grounds of the temple, on the day of Pentecost, and explained the story of Jesus, and thousands turned toward Jesus and started living with Jesus as the center of their lives. It's that guy. Still, that's like Acts 1 and 2 and stuff. But by the time you get to Acts 10, he's still failing at this new thing. Isn't that interesting? And if we had time, we could go where all the ways Paul failed too. There are people who've gone before us, who we have examples in the biblical record that have hit this fail point. Yay, I'm going to do this. We're going to do this. And it happens on individual levels, family levels, community levels, church levels, all this. These phases really run us over. Phase 2 has killed many a dream. And people have walked away for a variety of reasons. Now, so next question for us to consider. Okay, when you hit a failure point, what can you do about it? What's actually effective? There's one thing that we do that isn't effective. And sorry, optimists, I'm coming for you. If you just say, I'm just going to get up there, I'm going to have this stick-to-itiveness, I'm going to get up off the ground and have another go. No. That is returning to phase 1. That's returning to phase 2. Now, the pessimists are wrong. You know what the pessimists do? They put a sofa down here and they take a seat. Well, this is where we're going to live. Right? So both are wrong. So the way to actually climb up out of it with these two biblical examples, let's take a look just for a second, just for a quick second. So what happened in the occasion? Seriously, if we had time, I would walk through all the ways that this happens with them. But you can see in this example with Peter, he has an understanding of how the world works, even though he knows the resurrected Jesus, and he still got that wrong. And it's changing and it's limiting what he can do. And there are people who want to know Jesus. This guy Cornelius is interesting. If you and I knew Cornelius is a very interesting human being. But prior to this experience of God showing up and meeting Peter, Peter would have said, no, I can't talk to Cornelius. But now he understands it differently and he goes and talks to him, and Cornelius is a wonderful human being. So there's songs written about Cornelius, believe it or not. So what we learned from them was, this is how they got out. If I had time to go into all the details, I think we could verify this. So the way out is a ladder. One side of the ladder is grace, right? Grace. That's like, hey, it's all right. You had a good go. Like it's just room. It's like it's room for someone to breathe after they had an attempt, right? We're not like eating anybody up over that attempt. The other is truth, right? You notice in the case of Peter, right here with Cornelius, he doesn't get chewed out by God, right? He doesn't yell at him. Neither in Acts 9, the chapter before, neither does Paul get chewed out by Jesus when he's blinded on the road to Damascus. If you recall this, he doesn't get chewed out. He's like, hey, you're hurting me, Jesus says when he's blinded. Why are you persecuting me, Jesus says to Paul. And Paul pieces together that what he's doing to other people, he's doing to Jesus. So in these moments, like Acts 9 and 10, both Paul and Peter are experiencing grace and truth. Like information that is life-altering, changing. Funny enough, we did this this past week. We did this with tying shoes with Roger in the back. Funny enough, last night we were in the pit on tying shoes, and this actually happened, and it was really neat. So, but here's the third part. Attempts are the rungs on a ladder, not time. You know, you put me at a skateboard, it doesn't matter if the first time I tried was when I was 15. I am not better today, right? Like it's attempts. So these rungs are attempts, and it takes quite a few. So I think from what I've seen and experienced from my reading and from my basketball coaching and living on this earth, I think there's social science behind this. This is kind of provable that this is how you get out. This is how you get from the failure point. This is how you get from to okay. Right? Like, I'm not good, but I know what I'm trying to do now. Right? Like, this is this. Now, so why are we talking about it? Because that's where we are individually. That's where this church is. And again, I saw two super high-level athletes react differently because of their lack of knowledge of this or their knowledge of this. One of them's punting basketballs, an All-American, National Player of the Year, punting basketballs, having a fit like a 7-year-old, and the other one's like, I'm good. So this information that we could see reflected in the journey of Paul and of Peter can actually cause us now we have, funny enough, now we have truth to help us in processing these experiences. So let me make sure. Okay, so I want to explain this is happening on two levels. This even hurts my brain, so I'm sure it will hurt yours, and I'm sorry for that. What we're hoping to do today in this is give insight into how start something works. And then we're trying to give insight into how to start something. How to start something and how the process works. I hope that makes sense. I cannot find a better way to say that, but there are two ways in which I think, and as Steph and I have talked, we think these are useful. We understand how to start something, but then how the process works. The better we understand the process, the more we take a breath and we move forward and we learn and we continue to progress forward. So that's what we're trying to do here in this. The two truths you're getting are how to start something, but then how it's going to go when you do start something. Okay, so a couple years ago, my wife's brother grew up in Raleigh. My wife and her brother went to Millbrook High School. And he's lived several places around the country. He works in tech, and he lived in San Francisco. We went and visited him. Do you know what they have in San Francisco? You saw it. Sourdough bread. Anybody had that sourdough bread? Okay, right? Like when you're young, I was like, I'm not having that. I just want, give me some Wonder Bread. That sourdough hurts your teeth, and all that sort of stuff. Well, so here's the history on sourdough. This is fascinating. Do you know when it first began to just kind of rise up? You ever heard of what happened in 1849? What was that? The gold rush. The gold rush. It actually started the gold rush because San Francisco had unique air. It was moist and it was salty. And apparently back in the day, people who came there would get dough. They created starters, and it was people panning for gold, mining for gold. It was miners. So these miners would actually, they became known as sourdoughs. They smelled funny. They smelled like the sourdough starter. And the sourdough starters were like a live culture. It's like a petri dish. And it was a live culture. And these people, they would mix flour with it, and they would make sourdough bread. And they would even, historically, they would keep that sourdough, they would keep that starter, they would sleep with it to keep it warm, because it would die at night in the cold of California, so they'd actually sleep with it. No wonder they smelled like it, right? But it was so precious to them. But if you had a piece from 1849, you would not be happy with the product. Let me just say there are vast differences between that 1849 gold miner sourdough and what we have today. So then, and a key part of that, same time it's 1849, the Baudin family came from France. And they got a hold of that same sourdough and they started changing it. And they did change it, and for years they brought classic French pastry techniques and applied them to using that same starter. Sourdough began to change, and then 1906 happened. You know what happened in 1906? You ever heard about this? Gigantic earthquake hit, and the bakery caught on fire. Do you know what Louise Baudin did? Ran in there, didn't save anything else. Didn't save any of the money, didn't save any of that. Grabbed the starter, saved it. saved the starter. And that continued on. Then some years, and then like right about that same time, two brothers came from Basque region in Spain. And you know what they did? Did you see that crust in the video? They figured out the crust. So this is version 3 of sourdough. These guys come from Spain. They opened their shop in 1896. And the Laraburu brothers, they come and they start their shop. And then they go bankrupt in 1977. And their starter is lost. They had that starter from 1896. And they lost it in 1977. Until years later, they found out people broke in. They broke in and stole it at night and hid it and kept it living all across the city. There was multiple people who had stolen that starter when the place went bankrupt. How wild is this stuff, right? They stole that starter, they held on to it, and they continued to, and then it reemerged years later. And that bakery in particular, you know who was famous for going there every day, getting something right out of the oven? How about Alfred Hitchcock? You believe that? Every day, Alfred Hitchcock. This had a major following, version 3. And then what happened is it became so popular that it began to be kind of routine. It been like machine operations took over and they just kind of spit them out. And then it wasn't until this sounds fake, until in the early 80s, 1983, the Acme Bread Company, yeah, not run by Wile E. Coyote or whoever. The Acme Bread Company, they sparked a nationwide revolution to returning to like handmade techniques. And then along came in the 2000s, like 2005 to 2015, along came, did you see the name on the wall in that video? Along came Tartine. And Tartine took French country, they took all these different, they started making multiple versions of this. And if you go there, it's a real delight. It's a real delight. 5 versions of sourdough. How about this? Same exact culture. Same exact culture. Different expressions of that culture. So that's what we, the church, are invited to do. Each generation, figuring out how to keep stepping forward with the same culture, with the culture we inherited. The culture's the same. The expressions of that culture continue to take steps into the future, fearlessly. How many times do you think that the baker who started who started Tartine, how many times do you think that baker did something in their kitchen that was a bomb that we never saw? And they had to go ask somebody else. We don't know. We weren't there for it. But thank goodness for the people who figured out how to make it from phase 2 to phase 3. We need grace, we need truth, and we need more attempts. We absolutely do that. So each generation takes that same culture and pushes forward with it, fails even forward with it, has a go, keep going. And there could be generations in there that just try something and they never really clicks, but they hand it to the next generation, and then that generation gets it. That can happen. That does happen. You can tell a culture by the stories that are told, by the ideas that are shared. Look for them where there are needs, where there are gifts, where there are skills, and where there are likes. You can tell a culture by its willingness to push through naivete and push through disillusionment into a next level of toughness and wisdom. I want to show you and remind you what it's like in this world that we live in now, what sourdough is like in this world we live in now.
Summertime's here, such a good feeling. School is out and now I'm all about chilling. Hanging with my buddies at a barbecue. Call your friends and we'll meet around 2 o'clock. Around the block, people walking, talking about whatever as they head to the park game. I think the temperature is so warm, 85 in the sunshine, and now my city's alive. No worries about rain on a sunny day, cause the blue sky's chasing all the clouds away. It's just me, my baby, and all my friends, cause in the summer every day is a weekend.
You don't eat that bread without all the people who came before, do you? We don't. We don't eat that bread without all the people who came before. But let's be honest, aside from novelty, I don't want to eat the miner's sourdough. I want to eat that sourdough, right? One way you might enjoy kind of impacting the stories that you hear and the ideas you have, this has affected our family in a beautiful way. Bob Goff, he's a lawyer who teaches at Pepperdine University, the most visually beautiful Christian campus in the United States, Pepperdine University. Bob Goff wrote this, a lawyer there, who's a very fun, adventurous person. This is an easy read. We have read it at the table out loud with our families. This is a way to begin to affect the culture. Take some of that San Francisco culture. Bob is out west. Take some of that San Francisco in that way. You may really, really enjoy this. Love does. Easy to read, tells stories of how people encounter Jesus. Thank you for letting me share with you this morning. Your faces have been very warm. I appreciate that. I hope this is meaningful. Thank you.